Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Let's Talk on Win TV, streaming live every Friday from noon to 1 here on your favorite YouTube channel, whatever you're watching us on. We're here every Friday from noon to 1. And I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today as we step into another hot month of May. And it is hot. We've gone from winter to summer with a little bit of spring in between, but we have some very significant dates to observe and so much to celebrate. It feels like summer, like I said, and some of us love it. I'm one of those. I am a hot weather person. 85 degrees is perfect for me with some sunshine, a little bit of humidity I can even deal with. But anyway, we'll make it work. But this month we're honoring Mother's Day, Older Americans Month, Memorial Day, and Mental Health Month. As you know, this month also marks the 100th birthday of Malcolm X on May 19th. And the 5th anniversary, Chevry, our producer, shouting joy because it's also her birthday, not her 100th. But we know the nation, she wants the nation to stop and celebrate her. I won't tell you which birthday, but to celebrate her birthday. But it is the 100th birthday of Malcolm X. And we know that there will be recognitions going on all across the country and maybe even in other places around the world to commemorate Malcolm X's life and his words. And it also is the 5th anniversary of the police-involved murder of George Floyd. And the Washington Informer will be acknowledging that and the rise of Black Lives Matter, as well as, the attack on Black Lives Matter. So, but also just what that date meant to America and how it changed America, and in some ways for the better. And we're hoping that we can get back to that. But anyway, it's a time to reflect, recognize, and remind us of the challenges we face and the accomplishments we have achieved while we uplift our communities every day. So as we dive into today's exciting program, I encourage you to grab your copy of this week's edition. Go ahead, a paper. This week's edition of the Washington Informer. Sorry, I'm bending over in front of you. But hey, times are getting tough, folks. And so we just, know that print publications are being challenged, and the Washington Informer is no exception, but we are still printing. And so I always like to show the paper and let you know we got some great stories. It's a really, really cool story that Sam Collins did on the first cohort of the Howard University mini-med students who received their white coats. And so, there's a shortage of doctors in America, just like there's a shortage of teachers, a shortage of doctors. And to start with these little people, and you can see this when you pick up a copy of the Informer, but these little people who've gone through training, they're from Tubman Elementary School, and they're learning or beginning to launch their medical careers. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we write about in the Informer, and I hope that you will pick up a copy at your nearest newsstand, and it's free. And take a read at that, and so all the other stories that we have in this week's edition. Trust me, this is one issue you won't want to overlook. It's a great edition. So remember, you can read every story online at WashingtonInformer.com. And I would be remiss not to remind you and to ask you to sign up for our Win Daily newsletter. It's the digital newsletter that you'll receive in your inbox every day that will keep you up to date on the stories that are happening around the DMV as reported in the Washington Informer. It's free and it's chock full of news you can use. And we also promote a couple of other newsletters there. Word in Black, which we hope that you will take a look at, the collaboration between 10 Black-owned newspapers around the country, and the stories that are being published in those publications, as well as a financial literacy newsletter, and Our House, which we are promoting because we are trying to find ways to keep houses Black-owned in the DMV. So those are newsletters that are available to you. You can sign up and get them. They're free, like I said, in addition to Win Daily. So please check that out. And it really helps us too, because the advertisers are always asking, well, who's reading the Informer? What are the numbers? What are your demographics? And so when you actually sign up, it really helps us. You want to know how to help the Black press? That's one way of helping, and that's to subscribe. And in this case, online, you can subscribe for free, unless, I have to mention it, unless you want to support what we do here at The Informer and support our journalism. There is a donate button there on the website, and so you can subscribe to, the print edition, that's what that shows. And there's also a donate button where you can just give money and help to support our work, the work of our journalists. And we're so proud. We have one that's graduating from Howard University in a couple of weeks, so we're going to celebrate her. And it's just great working around with these young, as my managing editor, Misha Green says, these young, fearless journalists. So let's amplify our voices and strengthen our community together. This week, we're bringing you an inspiring lineup of guests. First up is Leslie Johnson, the Director of Returning Citizens and Community Partnerships for Prince George's County. She's coming to share an empowering event aimed at supporting formerly incarcerated women. That is an initiative that truly transforms lives. And then we're going to talk to Edana Perry, the co-founder and president of the Kayla Ross Perry Memorial Foundation, an organization that raises awareness about epilepsy and provides scholarships as well as sponsors events that highlight the creative arts of healing. We'll explore she'll tell us what folks need to know about epilepsy and the importance of supporting those affected by it. You know, this is Older Americans Month. Yes, I fall in that category, and I know some of you do well, proudly. And so we're happy to welcome back Katie Fuller, Managing Director of Northwestern Mutual, who's going to share some valuable strategies for ensuring financial security for older generations. And if you want to know who that is, Katie will share that information with us. Katie, I know who that is. It's me and a couple of my friends who want to know more about how to become more financial secure, particularly during these stressful times when so many things are happening economically in this country. So we look forward to her advice. And in honor of Mental Health Month, we're excited to welcome Hannah Tessema, the Director of Health and Wellness at the Greater Washington Urban League. She's going to discuss the second annual perinatal mental health certification program entitled Birthing Black, One Healthy Mind at a Time. This training program provides participants with the knowledge and skills to assess and treat perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, an issue that disproportionately impacts Black mothers. So settle in and let's talk. But before we bring on our guests, let's hear from Curtis Knowles, who will share this week's news broadcast. Take it away, Curtis.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. The Wharf, an ambitious development that's credited with reviving DC's waterfronts, has been sold to a Canadian pension fund. Wharf developers Hoffman and Associates took the mile-long development along the Washington Channel in Southwest DC from the drawing board to the region's top dining and entertainment draws, and they have now transferred ownership to equity partner, the Public Sector Investment Board. Monty Hoffman, the founder and chairman of Hoffman and Associates, commented saying, quote, "Every project we undertake follows a strategic hold plan, and the time has come for a change in our role. We have full confidence in our partner to carry forward our shared vision for the Wharf as we continue expanding communities across the DMV and beyond." U.S. Senator Edward Markey and Senator Cory Booker announced on April 25th the introduction of the New START Act of 2025. This legislation would establish a 5-year pilot program within the Small Businesses Administration to award grants from between $100,000 to $500,000 to organizations annually to provide entrepreneurial development training to individuals who are currently or formerly incarcerated. The legislation is endorsed by the National Urban League, the Brennan Center for Justice, as well as the Center for Entrepreneurial Opportunity, as well as many others. Booker commented saying, quote, "Starting a small business can be transformational for formerly incarcerated people and can be a pathway to overcome the barriers in an economy that is not built for them through higher quality jobs, increased wages, and a meaningful job experience." Fairmount Heights High School, considered to be a historic site due to its role in educating Black students during the era of segregation, has been empty for many years. This week, however, the Prince George's County Council took a big step toward finding a new use for the facility by declaring the school a surplus property. The parcel of land will be transferred to the county's redevelopment authority, which has a deal in place to sell the land to a film company ready to build a studio there that should be finalized this summer. The new use drew lots of praise from former students and faculty who spoke to the county council. And the state of Maryland is also kicking in $5 million to help with the project. Fred Smith, who's with the Fairmont Heights Alumni Association, commented saying, quote, "It's still going to be an educational facility, and that's the thing that we like about it. It's going to be an educational facility as well as a filmmaking studio."
Thanks so much, Curtis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't know that about Fairmont High School. We were just talking about that. So it's going to be a film facility, and that's good. I mean, because the creative arts are amazing. We just had on, what was her last? Carrie last week. Carrie Williams last week, who was in Family Matters, who talked about DC and Maryland, Prince George's, where a lot of the talent comes from across the country. So great talent. And so everything we can do, I think, to enhance that is a plus. But now it's my absolute pleasure to bring on my first guest. She's a former First Lady of Prince George's County and a former county council member, and a person who truly believes in second chances. And she is joining me, Leslie Johnson, Director of Returning Citizens and Community Partnerships for Prince George's County, who's making incredible strides in supporting formerly incarcerated women in our county. But I don't think you just work with women. Is that the case, Leslie?
That's right. We work with all formerly incarcerated persons, men and women. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you, one, for joining us. And I just am, so happy to know that this is your passion.
Absolutely.
It's your belief that everyone deserves a second chance. So let's talk about that and some of the experiences you've had there.
My pleasure. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you to the Washington Informer that has done so much in our community for so many years. So I just am grateful that you are still in business and still informing us of what we need to know. Let me just say that I have been involved in the reentry space since 2003, when I was the First Lady of Prince George's County, and I was able to start empowerment programs in our correctional facility here in the county. Those were empowerment programs for women. We also were able to open the first transitional home for women who had completed their time in the Prince George's County Correctional Facility. And with that, we were also able to not only have that house, which was called Leslie's House. I did not name it. But we also had a clothing facility there, because a lot of the women come out and they have nothing. And so we were able to give them the clothing that they needed to go forth into the community. We also helped them get services that they needed, so that when they came out, they would become productive members of our community here in Prince George's County. So that was in 2003. Then I had my own justice involved experience. As a result of that, when I returned, I was able to work in the Mission of Love Charities Incorporated, teaching returning citizens life skills, workforce development, and so forth. And also, I was able to, with others, found an organization called Pathway to Healing and Restoration. Because when you are away, I saw up close and personal that many of the women that I was in the dormitory with, they never received a letter, and a lot of those women never received a visit. They were essentially forgotten persons. And so I vowed to God and to the women I left behind that I would do something to try to change that dynamic. And so in 2017, we started Pathway to Healing and Restoration. And since that time, we have sent out to men and women incarcerated all over the country in excess of 4,500 letters. And that has been a blessing. Missionaries, my missionaries are the ones that send the letters out. And when we receive the return, the responses, they have been incredible. And oftentimes they say, you're the only ones that write to us. And so we are grateful.
That is, you're right. Women are forgotten.
Yes.
And I'm, since 2003, Leslie, have you, the statistics show that there are increasing numbers of women
Yes.
going into the judicial system, being
That's correct.
incarcerated. And you talk about that a little bit because, and what impact you're hoping to have in that population, decreasing that number.
Yes. So the numbers have increased, unfortunately. And it's for a lot of reasons. When people fall on hard times, and oftentimes they do desperate things that causes them to be incarcerated. And so what we try to do, and here at the office, the state's attorney's office, we have what we call a female emerging adults program. We also have a male emerging adults program that is for persons who are currently incarcerated between the ages of 18 and 26. And what we have partnered with an organization that actually gives them training to help them overcome some of the challenges that they've had. So they have mental health help. They talk about workforce development, how to overcome self-esteem issues. There's a whole gamut. And we have a female program and a male program. And what happens is once these people, the persons leave the facilities, they're also continuing to partner with the resource entity that we have partnered with so that they can become successful. And they have been hugely successful. The persons that have graduated from those programs have not returned to the facilities. They are doing very, very well. And I actually get on to it's a virtual program, and I actually take part with the women's program.
I was just getting ready to go there because I was going to say, you said I know you're not a one woman crusader. I know that there are others out there, but there might be others who are watching. When you talk about they come home and they don't have, maybe clothes that they can, everyday clothes, regardless of clothes, try to go for job interviews. They may not have prospects for jobs.
Right.
And people, particularly small businesses, you're talking to one, who may have opportunities for individuals like that. How does the community support, or how can it support the work that your office is doing?
Well, first of all, I can give my email here at the state's attorney's office, and that is lejohnson@co.pg.md.us. And I look at my emails all the time. So if there's an interest in helping those who have returned to our communities, please reach out to me. And I don't know if this would be the appropriate time to talk about the upcoming conference that we're going to have.
Yes.
This was the brainchild of our wonderful state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy. She came to me last year and said, we need to lift up the stories of our justice-involved women and girls. And I said, I'm on it. And so this is actually the second year that we are hosting this conference. And again, it is entitled The Untold Stories of Justice-Involved Women and Girls. This year's overall theme is healing, hope, and homecoming, rebuilding bonds, restoring futures. What is very unique about this conference is that we not only address those women who are currently incarcerated, but we address those who have returned. And so we will actually have a panel of currently incarcerated women, and they will tell their stories. And once they tell their stories, then we have another panel who will address their challenges and concerns right on the spot.
Fantastic.
And then the next panel will be made up of persons who have come home, who may face different kind of challenges. And then we also have persons with lived experiences and subject matter experts to address those. So I think that this conference, as last year's, will be hugely impactful and informative. And I always give a call to action at the end that if you're not doing anything in the reentry space, please consider doing something.
So I'm getting the it's time note here, but I just have a really quick question. One,
yes,
is this can people? There's no cost for coming to the conference.
No, absolutely right? Not.
Then no matter where, is it open to people in the DMV or just in
yes.
County? Okay.
No, not just Prince George's to the DMV. And as you see there is a QR code. We're asking everybody because we need to know our numbers in order to adequately prepare. So I'm asking everybody to register. They can go on to our Prince George's County State's Attorney website. The flyer is there. They can scan it when they see the flyer using the QR code. And so I would just ask that if they are interested in coming, to please register. We're filling up fast. And it is at the City of Praise Family Ministries, which you see on the flyer, 8501 Jericho City Drive in Landover.
Right. And I'm the last one because they're pulling me, but
okay.
Have there been sort of like networks, groups of formerly incarcerated women who created support groups among themselves?
Yes, there have been.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
One in particular, and we will have a number of resource vendors that will address the needs of the women. And one of them is called the Life After Release. And they really do a lot with women. We also have the Damascus House, which is a transitional home that has women and men. So there are a number. We have approximately 19 resource vendors, but they will be there too. Yes.
Well, I know that just from watching your life's work and knowing the state's attorney, that you all are adamant when it comes to believing in second chances.
Absolutely.
And I think if people understood more about what that means and how dedicated you are to that, more people would get on board. So I really appreciate you coming here today, sharing this information. The Washington Formula will be there.
Wonderful
story. So I'm making that commitment now. We're putting it down.
All right, I'm putting you down. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
We're honored. Thanks a lot for being. Tell State's Attorney we said hello, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. And it is May 14th.
Right. It's almost June.
I know.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes. Boy, we can't do enough. These women, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts, our uncles, our mothers, and our fathers are coming back to our community. So it's great that we have resources like that to support folks, and that we can do our own part. I keep telling folks it's time to do some spring cleaning. And if you're looking for places to, to take some of those things in your closet that you haven't worn in 3-4 years. Come on, let's share them with people that we know need them and do that spring cleaning. Anyhow, we're going to move on now because I'm very, very happy where we're going to talk about the Kayla Ross Perry Memorial Foundation, which is an organization that raises awareness about epilepsy. But we go there. Let's show this brief video.
If we'd have known that SUDEP existed, along with the sleep deprivation, we would have changed a lot of things in how we monitor her, and particularly probably how she monitored herself.
No one ever gave us a pamphlet. No one ever put anything in our hands. No one ever gave us a website or a link and said, you know what, you might not really be ready for this, but why don't you read it anyway? Never. So I know that there's a big need for more education and awareness about SUDEP.
I think that the more knowledge that individuals have and more information that families have and that individual themselves who's dealing with epilepsy, the more they're able to handle it and manage it.
We need to talk about SUDEP.
We need to talk about SUDEP
to end SUDEP.
Well, joining me is co-founder and president Edana. Did I say that right? Edana Perry. Thank you for joining us today. And let's talk. Was I muted?
No, she.
Oh, okay.
I was. All
right. Let's talk about SUDEP. Yeah, and you know, your personal story and journey as it relates to this. What do we call it? Is it a condition? Is it? Talk about it. Tell us what.
Sure, absolutely. So first and foremost, thank you for giving the Kayla Ross Perry Memorial Foundation an opportunity to share some information that is close to our hearts. And as the video referenced our understanding of SUDEP, it came too late. SUDEP is the sudden, unexpected death in epilepsy. And it is the terminology that is used to basically describe the fact that doctors don't understand how individuals who suffer with epilepsy, and epilepsy is a seizure disorder, how they end up passing. But there are risk factors. And so part of what we wanted to do was to help educate people and have a discussion, you know, like how do they lower their risk from potentially passing from SUDEP? What should they do if they have a seizure? How can they prevent future seizures? Are there treatments? And when it comes down to it, the things that are similar about SUDEP is that one, the individuals tend to pass, they are lying flat down with their face in their pillow. They may have had a seizure or a heart attack from a seizure. But because there is no real understanding about how to prevent it, the medical community had stepped back from even mentioning it. And so while the medical community, the physicians, her team would often say, you know, Miss Perry, you have to watch if Kayla has a seizure, she might fall and hurt her head, or she might fall and hit the tub and might die. No one ever said she might pass away in her sleep from SUDEP. And so we were, you know, not only distraught from losing a loved one, we were distraught because we weren't given all the information. And as parents, as caregivers, as individuals who are caring about themselves or their family members, you want to know the risk. You know, we find out risk about smoking. We know there's risk associated with riding an amusement park ride. But because we don't understand completely, why are you withholding information from us? So that's where the passion came in, is that we first found out about SUDEP, unfortunately, when Kayla passed.
So tell us about Kayla. And I think about it because I just bring this up a little bit because I remember as a kid, right? We knew those kids who from time to time used to have those, what we call epileptic seizures.
Or fits. People would call them fits.
Right. We didn't understand it, but we knew,
No.
you know, this one did and that one did. And so as kids, you know, you were kind of aware of that. But thinking back, I haven't even thought about that since that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to know a little bit more about Kayla.
Sure. So Kayla is the youngest of our 3 children. She has an older sister. Her name is Taylor. She has a middle brother. His name is Christian. And Kayla brought up the rear. Kayla actually was very talented musically. She actually sung with the Washington Performing Arts Children of the Gospel Choir for over 8 years. She loved music. And she could be a little snappy and stubborn. She liked, she kind of had like a boho style of fashion. And the one thing that is we always remember about Kayla is that her and her dad share the same birthday, May 9th. So her dad never lets us forget about that.
Wow.
And so, and she was a poet. She was starting to love cooking and modeling. But I think the one thing we remember about Kayla is her personality, which was jovial, and her love for her family.
Did you know that? I'm sorry, I didn't get to meet her, but I can really feel her spirit, and I can see it in you. So, but I mean, at what point did you realize in Kayla's life that she, you know, was having this condition?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was around 11. She was around 11 years old, and it was in the summer, and I was actually working at a major hospital at the time, and she was coming down the steps, and we were in the kitchen, and she had some grits, and her arm trembled, and she dropped them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at her, and I was like, "Kayla, you okay?" She was like, "Yeah, Ma, I don't know what's going on." But then it happened again. She had the tremor. And what we later found out after 2 visits to the physicians, the first visit did not show anything. They did a CAT scan or MRI on her brain. That didn't show anything. What you need to have is what's called an EEG. That is the test where they put the electrodes on your brain and they monitor the brain activity. Mm-hmm. So we went through 2 visits until finally we got to the neurologist, and they did the EEG, and they found that she had epilepsy, and she was diagnosed with what's called juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. And her particular seizures were triggered by lack of sleep, of all things, and it would show itself by that movement.
Yeah.
But there are other types of seizure disorders where people may just stare. And so that's where the education comes from, is that understanding when you're seeing behavior, you may think the person is acting like they're drunk, but they're about to go into a seizure.
Wow. Wow.
So we feel there's a lot of opportunity to educate our community, our family, about what would happen if you're in the midst of someone who, you know, has a seizure. But once she was diagnosed, after I cried to get over it, because there was nobody in our family who had epilepsy, then we just prayed and said, okay, Lord, what do we need to do to try to make sure that she can live as much of a normal life as she can? And we were determined, and so was she. And so there was nothing that she couldn't do. We would just have to make sure wherever she went, people were made aware of the fact that she had to get more sleep, and then what to do in the event that she might have a seizure.
And it sounds like, you know, that was like, I guess, your own personal discovery. Are you saying that the discussion that you plan to have is just to inform people that are not getting the information from the medical community?
Right. And to know where to go. For example, the Epilepsy Foundation of America is the main vehicle that provides a lot of the education. And we work with them on and off in different programs. But the other thing is we want to remove the stigma, as you talked about, the stigma associated with individuals who happen to have seizures.
Yeah.
It's not contagious, Miss Barnes. It's not contagious. People think it is. So they will stay away from someone once they see them go through this. And so, once we understand something, we're not afraid anymore.
Right.
And so that's what's important.
Well, I'm also wondering, and I know we're getting short on time too, but the schools, she could have been in class. Are they equipped? Do they understand? Or I mean, how do you?
That's a great question. And that kind of segues into, our foundation started with providing we started with providing scholarships, and we've been doing that for the past 5 years. But we're slowly moving into a programmatic phase where we're going to be able to teach seizure first aid training. And there is a particular toolkit that the Epilepsy Foundation has developed specifically for safe schools. And so that's another thing that we have to get out there. We need to let the educational leadership know that there are individuals who can help teach both their personnel and students about how to help those who are dealing with epilepsy.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I know tomorrow is K-Day.
Yes, ma'am.
2005.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about K-Day, what you all have planned, and where folks can come. And that's a beautiful picture of Kayla. So yeah, tell us about K-Day.
Okay, so in 20 words or less, K-Day is a reflection of Kayla with information infused with it. Kayla loved music. She and I would go Zumba dancing. Kayla loved to cook. And we recognize there's always a mental health component that we need to continue to watch out for in our community and for each other. So if you come, you may come and hear a DJ, Miss Barnes. If you come, you might come and you might be able to do a little bit of Zumba. You might come at that time. We're having a panel discussion called Our Stories Matter, where we have been able, two of our scholarship winners actually are living with epilepsy successfully.
Nice.
And so we're going to have a panel where they're going to share about their struggles, their achievements, everything that they've been able to do, and their parents. So you'll see that. And then we'll have a little bit of refreshments. And then I am going to teach a brief seizure first aid training.
That sounds like it's all inclusive and very informational and entertaining, and educational as well. So I am really proud that you decided to share this with us today, to introduce us to Kayla and to talk about the work that needs to be done. I don't know what, and it makes me, maybe you do, the Epilepsy Foundation, I'm sure, knows as well, the prominence of epilepsy in our community.
Well, that's interesting because I do have that statistic. Roughly 74,000 people in the DC metro area live with epilepsy.
And the ages range from?
You can be from 1 to 92.
Okay.
And have it. And people develop it, Miss Barnes. Sometimes it could be genetic, but sometimes it could be a result of a brain injury, an accident, and also from a stroke. So there are, different ways to develop epilepsy, but in our community, 1 in 26 people will actually develop epilepsy in their lifetime.
And this is personal, but you make me think of the parents friends who are parents who have a son and is exhibiting some things that they don't quite understand, and consequently kept him. He went to college. He's in college. To leave home, but because of something that was happening that didn't quite understand, they kept him close. Right. So. But we've never had that conversation. So I'm going to share this conversation that you and I are having. And I hope that others that see this will share it as well, because there are probably more folks, who are
You're right, Ms. Barnes. And can I just say one thing about that? That's part of what we will also talk about tomorrow is empowerment.
Yes.
Empowerment to have that question, to ask your doctor, to ask your nurse practitioner, whoever is coordinating your care. Like, are you telling me everything about my illness? Are you, or can you direct me? We want our community to be empowered about their health care.
Right.
And so that's very, very important as well.
Well, I know your Kayla's father. I think that's probably who I saw in the video as
Yes,
well.
ma'am.
And so I'm glad that it appears as though you all are partnering this.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I know he's got his job to do as well. But
he's actually a teacher, so he's teaching.
Oh, good. Well, give him our regards, and thank you for sharing this information. We're going to put the flyer up one more time,
Thank you.
for folks to see it. And we hope you have a successful event tomorrow. And also, you've got the information in case folks want to reach out to you with more questions or just to have the discussion.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barnes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for being with
Bye-bye.
us. All righty. So, gosh. All right. We're going to move from mental health to mental health and financial health, because we're going to go back to mental health in a little bit, but financial health. And it is always my pleasure. I have become friends with Katie Fuller now, who is with Northwestern Mutual. She's the managing director. I love talking to Katie because she was just so matter of fact and down to earth when we had our last financial discussion. So I'm looking forward to having another one today as it relates to older Americans. And that's me, Katie. How are you?
How are you? It's so nice to see you again.
Likewise. And so, you know what we do here. We just try to give folks news they can use, information that will empower. And so talk about, here we are, Older Americans Month, and people are seeing some not so pleasant things happening in their retirement accounts and what have you. And there are folks that are about to do that and are wondering, how do I prepare? So what news do you have for us?
Well, I think, no matter what, the market is always going to move, right? We know that. We have historical data that tells us that the market will move up and down significantly about every decade. And so, yes, like these are tied to some specific decisions that are leading us to see an impact in, our 401ks and in our pocketbooks, and honestly, just our confidence that we're going to get where we ultimately want to go. But what I can tell you is that whether it is tied to a specific administration or global events or a pandemic, the market will go down and it will eventually recorrect. And so the value of really working with a financial professional in that scenario is so deeply valuable, because people don't know what they don't know about finance. And that's just very, very normal. And so our job as advisors and support people in someone's financial wellness is really to help them understand that this is just a time and place, right? Nothing is permanent. Everything eventually corrects, and it will happen just the same in the market.
Now, I know that for some in our community, particularly, are living day to day, and then
absolutely,
God has given them the gift of a longer life, and now they're thinking about, okay, how do I support myself? What would you tell a 50-year-old or a 55? Now that they're part of AARP and they can benefit, right? What would you tell them about how to even start, their financial planning? Because it's late, but then
it's never too late.
Okay.
It's never too late. And so I would just say, first and foremost, find a financial advisor that you trust. And I acknowledge that's not always easy, right? Historically, I would say financial advising has been viewed as something that's for the wealthy, that is, complex. And it means that you will have to not enjoy your life today so that you can have this long-term outcome. But that's not really the case. Every person in this country deserves a financial plan, and everyone's situation is unique. And so even if, you want to go full DIY and try to do it all yourself, there's just so much to get through, and it's so nuanced depending on the person. And so first and foremost, I would say it's never too late to reach out to a financial professional that can help you identify what you can do in your specific situation to move the needle. And I think it's just really important to understand that when it comes to financial decision making, most of the decisions we all make, and that I am not exclusive or excluded from this, and I work in this industry, we make really emotional decisions about our financials. And so because of that, we experience a lot of shame in our financial situation. And I promise you, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. I promise you that just means your shame has more zeros attached to it. And so people will procrastinate and avoid meeting with an expert in finance because they don't want to experience that shame and have someone else see that shame. But there are so many people that just want to help, and they're not here to judge. They themselves have made some of the exact same decisions that others have, and have gotten that financial literacy that has historically been gatekept from most minority communities. And so the 50-year-old generation, right? People that are in this pre-retirement phase have never been educated about financial literacy. There is so much that has never been taught to that generation, again, especially in minority communities. And so what I really hope anyone who's listening can really hears is that it is never too late. And I promise you, there is someone out there that you will click with and connect with, and that you can truly trust to help shepherd you through both volatile times and times where things are seemingly go really well.
There's still those folks, Katie, I'm gonna push this a little bit because, there are folks that just say, why do I need to do this when I don't have any money, right? I've never saved anything. I don't have much in my savings. My bank account really is, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
But I know, I'm healthy. So, what can a financial advisor help me with if I don't have any money for them to advise me on?
Great question. Some of the work we do with people is just helping them work through their budget, manage their debt, build a savings plan to start to give them some security of knowing hey, if something goes wrong with my car, I can still make it work. And then even beyond that, as you're approaching retirement age, it's, hey, when do I take my Social Security? When do I make these elective decisions, and at what ages? And again, those are going to be really nuanced depending on the person and their situation. And so I think sometimes people think, I don't have any money, and then therefore no one's going to be willing to give me advice, or there's nothing they can advise me even on. Right. And that's just not the case. Our job, like we said, is just to help create financial security and make people be able to sleep better at night, knowing that they have someone that's out there that's to watch their back, right? It's just like going to a doctor, right? Yes, could I go on Google and be terrified by WebMD? Probably, right? But I would prefer, and most people know, we should go see a professional to help guide us through our medical situations, just like we learned from your last guest, right? That story from Mrs. Perry was so important about access to information and having someone that really cares shepherd you with the information that you need. And so I think that some of it is our own self-defeating thinking, and thinking that we are not worthy of someone else's time and expertise. And that's just objectively not the case.
I'm going to bring in another group too, because as you know, we talked to Leslie Johnson earlier, who works with formerly incarcerated people, right? Mm-hmm. And so many of them go into the criminal justice system and come out in debt because their bills that still have to be paid.
Absolutely.
And not knowing, does that prevent them from sitting down with a financial advisor?
Absolutely. There is,
that history.
Honestly, there is nothing that should stand as a barrier between someone seeking out support. And listen, I can't speak for every other financial firm. I can't, but what I can tell you about mine is that we are a very mission-focused organization that wants to perform at a high level, but wants to perform in a way that moves the needle socially. We are very active in our community. We want to make a difference. That's the driving factor behind what we do. And so there are plenty of clients that we have because it allows us to run our businesses. And there are plenty of clients that we have purely because it's the right thing to do. And so I really just hope people like hear there is no barrier. There is no reason why you shouldn't have this conversation, even if we can just give you some advice on how to manage that debt efficiently, what to tackle first and when to get a personal loan to restructure your debt, right? Those are all things that we can help someone with. But if they don't know, they don't know.
Right. So, we're midway through the year.
Yeah.
People still have questions, and all of us are sitting now in your office waiting for you to tell us. I mean, one thing we ought to do right now that we may not have considered. I mean, I don't know if there's a universal thing that you tell people other than to talk to a financial planner, but we're talking to one. And,
right.
And we're, especially as it relates to older Americans, is there some maybe tidbit of advice that you could give us before we go that, besides, or I won't say besides, but in addition to seeking a financial planner, because this is something they're going to want to make sure you're doing?
I think a really important thing that also gets overlooked, especially as you're doing kind of later stage in life planning, is this concept of long-term care, right? We have all seen our friends, our relatives go through long-term care instances. So that means like having to live in a nursing home, needing in-home care. And all of those things are honestly just ungodly expensive. And that can be either the first and largest way seniors spend down their assets in retirement, but it's also can be a really significant burden on the younger generation if you don't plan accordingly. And so there are a lot of ways that you can offset that risk with a financial advisor, especially if you are in your early 50s, you're relatively healthy. Like there are significant steps that you can take that will not break your bank, but that will really protect that future self for both you and your assets and your legacy, but then also the younger generations in your family so they don't experience that significant cost.
Well, that was very, very helpful because in my group, there's a lot of conversation about long-term care.
It's
Even
so real.
Healthy, but, folks are trying to figure out, and like you said, it's very, very expensive. But to know that there are options is a reason for us to be running to your door.
Yes.
So anything else you want to share with us, especially during this month, Katie, that Northwestern Mutual may be doing, or you're doing? It's really important to older Americans before we go.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this coming on this show, Denise, and getting a chance to speak with you. And honestly, the biggest thing I wanted to actually share is that I know how much movement and instability we're feeling, especially in the DMV right now, right? People are being laid off. People are being put on administrative leaves and they don't know where their careers are going to go. And interestingly enough, our managing partner, Leo Tucker, towards the end of last year, there's a Washington Business article or Washington Business Journal article about how we actually have this ambition to double our firm size so that we can actually serve the market in a much more substantial way. We're not currently equipped to be able to serve the DMV in the way that they deserve. And so without kind of realizing all the change that was coming in our community, we had already committed to literally doubling our firm size in the next couple of years before our managing partner retires. So if any of your listeners or even people that are looking for jobs and new roles and all of that, like I've got a role for everybody. Like I just need talented human beings. And I promise you, I've probably got something for you. So if people are looking for work, like please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or someone else in my firm because we are growing significantly in the DMV right now.
Well, that was a bonus. I'm glad I asked that question because, looking for work, and it's a I think a career or opportunity to share great information. I think we put we put Northwest Mutual up, but would they email you or would they go straight to Northwestern?
I honestly, email me directly, katie.fuller@nm.com. It's very simple. Email me, find me on LinkedIn, send me a carrier pigeon. I just want to help.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So if you get one of those, if you get somebody, next time we talk, maybe you can bring them along so we can
Deal.
learn what they've learned or what their experiences are like, particularly if we have people in communities, you know, because not everybody, I know you're in the DMV, but not everybody is in neighborhoods where they can actually do hands-on outreach to folks. So I love the fact that your doors are open for that, and we need it. So
we do. We do.
Thank you so much.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Likewise. Now we might see you again. I'm going to say maybe in August when we go back to school.
Yeah, happy to. Let's talk about 529 plans. You know, let's talk about planning for education.
All right. All right. We got a date.
I love it.
All right, Katie. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Take care. So good to see you.
Likewise. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and we are thinking, she said the 529 plan. I wish I had a little bit more, but we're going to save that because that's another option. I know that people take advantage of it, but this is for saving up for your children's college education. So think about that. But I am really thrilled now. We're going to our last and final segment. We are going to talk to Hannah Tasema, the Director of Health and Wellness for the Greater Washington Urban League, who's going to share information about perinatal mental health. Let's watch this video.
For an answer to be given on how to work and reduce or slow the impact of trauma within the Black family unit, this is the information that's needed.
It opened up my mind and had a new level of compassion for what, the birthing experience can be for many moms.
We are birthing Black, one healthy mind at a time.
Welcome, Dr. Hannah. How are you? I'm sorry. Welcome, Dr. Hannah. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing so great today. One, because you're here to talk to us about another aspect of mental health that a lot of us don't think about, but clearly you have a whole, I'll call it, tribe of folks, who are working with you on this topic. Let's talk about what the Greater Washington Urban League is doing with this perinatal mental health program.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today and to talk a little bit about the perinatal mental health training that's coming up. As you saw in the video, it is called Birthing Black, One Healthy Mind at a Time. And the Greater Washington Urban League, in partnership with Mary's Center, Palladium, and Postpartum Support International, is going to be providing this 3-day training on perinatal mental health. It's very specialized, very comprehensive. This training is meant to equip Black health and wellness providers with evidence-based information, as well as culturally relevant strategies to support the emotional wellness of Black birthing people. We had many different groups that were part of last year's initial training. So last year was the very first year. We're in our second year now. We had clinicians, we had doulas, midwives. Some of those clinicians included nurse practitioners and physicians like obstetricians and gynecologists. We had physician's assistants. We also had psychologists and psychiatrists, and we had nurses and social workers, therapists. We also had students and researchers that participated as well. And it was a really exciting time because we were able to really work together to meet our objectives, which are around building a pipeline of Black clinicians and providers, both clinical and non-clinical, that are trained and they're able to identify and treat perinatal mood and anxiety disorders.
Richard, I would like for you to define or describe that, because we just think, women get pregnant, they have babies, and they move on. So, but there's something else going on here. So why was this program so important?
Yeah, it's really important because the support that people need around these perinatal mental health issues really doesn't exist in the context of Black birthing people. So
what is it that you're training people to do, and what happens? What is going on in the mind of I know you might not be able to answer that question, but there's something happening where the mental health of a mother is impacted. What are those symptoms that you all are training people to address?
So I'm glad you asked that, because the symptoms show up differently in Black populations versus other populations. And so, first of all, the postpartum depression and anxiety and birth-related traumas and PTSDs, those are the kinds of things that we're looking at, the feelings of guilt that might overwhelm people that recently had a baby, or feelings of being overwhelmed or feeling inadequate, and then not really having a place to turn, or even recognizing that these things might be related to mental health. And the symptoms manifest differently in different populations. So Black women specifically might have more physical manifestations or physical symptoms, where they might say, I have a headache, or I have fatigue or body pains, as opposed to other groups that might express sadness or hopelessness in a more typical sort of manifestation. And so this training, which is led by some really expert Black providers that have been in this perinatal mental health space for a very long time, are going to be able to walk our participants through the process of really better understanding how to see those symptoms, how to recognize them, and then what to do next. The purpose of the training is really to get folks prepared so that they can take this exam to become certified as a perinatal mental health provider. And so our goal as the Greater Washington Urban League is to create a big cohort, a big network of Black health and wellness providers that are prepared and then can recognize things as they happen.
So let's talk about, again, I always have to make things a little bit more practical for me to get. And, woman, again, has a child. And of course, their focus more so than anything is making sure that they're making the pediatrician visits, right? They're getting the baby to the doctor. How does one end up, in having the benefit of those that you all are training? How do they get into their space? Is it when they go and get their own physical after having a baby? Are there their own gynecologists who are talking to them and asking them questions? What besides them recognizing something's wrong, but I'm gonna just deal with it?
Yeah, I'm gonna just deal with it is a big thing. I mean, that idea of, well, I'm going to deal with it, or I'm going to act like this is not a big deal because I have other people to care about, and that's another big issue that we're facing within this population, where it's like, well, I have to take care of my partner, I have to take care of my other children, perhaps I have aging parents that I might need to take care of. And so this is a group of caregivers, Black women, that often put themselves toward the bottom of the list, and self-care is really the last thing on the list. So that's one piece of it. But the other thing is that our organization is really community-based and community-centered. So we want to make sure the community is in the midst of what we're doing. So in doing that, we want to make sure we're meeting folks where they actually are. So if you are going to your regular visit, we want to make sure that that obstetrician or that clinician that you're seeing regularly is equipped with the skills that are needed to be able to do this. So that's why, I was kind of naming that doulas and midwives and all sorts of different types of providers in different spaces that will be equipped with these skills. So wherever you go, there's going to be somebody that will be able to provide this type of a service. And that's our goal. That's why we're not focused entirely on one group. It's a very multidisciplinary group of providers that are in the room there. But our criteria is making sure that the providers in the room are actually Black. And there are important reasons for that, because a lot of times we see that Black folks prefer to be provided services by somebody that looks like us, but also has this similar kind of lived experience. And that allows for more of a culturally appropriate and empathetic kind of space. And so right now, the problem is we don't have enough providers that can do that. And so that's really the impetus, the inspiration for doing this kind of work. We need to have those providers.
And what is it that happened, or what did you observe that made you realize, Urban League realized that there were not enough providers? Is there what was it that said, we really need to focus in on this?
We were just hearing this from our communities that, we don't have the support we need, but we have to keep moving on. It wasn't one particular event that happened, but it was over time that we were discovering that people were saying, well, I don't know where to go, or I don't have anyone to help me with this particular thing. And so you just kind of hit a dead end when the resources are not there. So now it was a matter of leveraging the resources we had, the partnerships we have within the community, partnering with Postpartum Support International, which is, they're a major player in this space, and the ones that have really created this very comprehensive curriculum. So bringing all those players into the room and saying, okay, we have to really do something together to address the problem. And so actually, it was 2 years ago, we were at Palladium, located in DC, and we all came together as a group, many small organizations, large organizations as well in DC, to say, what can we do together to do something about this? I mean, we each separately provide some level of service around this, but how can we leverage what we have and grow it even further? And so that was kind of the beginning conversation of developing this training.
So give me an example of some of the things that, topics that are discussed or strategies that you all address in the training.
Yeah, so the agenda is 3 days and it is packed. So there are a lot of topics. I won't be able to tell you all of them, but I can tell you that there is a focus on some of the diagnostic distinctions, like understanding the difference between baby blues, versus major depression, for example. How would you be able to tell the difference? Some of the screening tools and clinical approaches. And then cultural considerations. As I was mentioning, this is not a training for everyone. This is a culturally very specific sort of training. And so how do we support Black birthing people in this process, as well as trauma-informed care, looking at reproductive justice and real life scenarios. So something that really brings the training to life. It's not just like a lecture where people sit for 3 days, because nobody has the attention span for that. But it's really, there are many different pieces that are incorporated. There are videos, there are, people sharing their actual stories. We have 3 panels, real life panels, where people will be able to share their lived experience. For example, on day 3, we have women that will be telling their stories, what they went through, what their journey was like. On day 2, we're going to have a community-based panel of doulas and community health workers that talk about it from the non-clinical perspective. And then on day 1, we have a couple of physicians that will talk about the role of physicians in improving perinatal mental health outcomes. And also something important, I think, which is worth mentioning, is that there's also a focus on how these perinatal mental health issues may affect specific special populations, like military families or parents that might have infants in the NICU, in the neonatal intensive care unit, as well as those that might be experiencing physical disabilities, like giving birth while deaf, for example, things that not everyone really considers all the time. And so this training, as I mentioned, is just very, very comprehensive and really covers a whole lot of different areas and provides really important resources so that it goes beyond just the 3-day training and certification.
So for people who are interested, I mean, you went down the list and we see a list here: doulas, midwives, nurses, the whole gambit of people that deal with serve pregnant mothers. And so who would want to come? How do they get there? I know we have a sign up here, but how do they get involved? Give us that information.
Yeah, well, the easiest way probably is to just email us at blackwellness@gwul.org. So it's blackwellness@gwul.org, or on our website, gwul.org. You can go to events and you'll see perinatal mental health there. If you click on that, that's our website. The registration form will be available right there. You can share your information and we can get you registered as soon as possible. Something really important, I think, to mention also is that cost is sometimes a barrier when it comes to getting these certifications, because in this case, the cost of everything is $1,200, and we are taking on a lot of the expense in that. So we're covering over 90% of the cost.
Wow.
So we ask for participants, so it costs $1,200, but we're asking participants to just pay $100 to show their commitment to the process. And that even includes the cost of the exam. So
wow.
The exam itself was $500. So this is us really trying to step in with our partners and, create this network and to eliminate barriers as much as we can. So you can email us, go to our website, and that's how you can get involved.
Well, I know you're expecting a great turnout, great participation, and this is going to take place. I see Maryland, but where is it going to take place?
Yes, it is actually at the James R. Cousins Jr. Municipal Center, the Gold Room in Glenarden Parkway, Glenarden, Maryland, on Glenarden Parkway.
Okay.
So that's where it will be, 8 to 5, May 7th to the 9th.
Wonderful. Okay, so folks can sign up still, because there's still opportunities to participate.
Yes, so the sign up ends on Monday at the end of the day. So please register as soon as possible, because we're going to be going live May 7th.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, Hannah, I want to thank Dr. Hannah. Now what are you? What kind of physician are you?
I'm not a physician. I'm a doctorate in public health. Yeah. So it's
okay. All right. Good.
Exactly.
Good.
So it's in health behavior.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I just thought I'd ask, because I didn't ask anything about you, but that's great. That's great. And I know you're the director of the program of health and wellness at the Greater Washington Urban League. So I want to thank you for bringing this information to us and sharing it with our viewers. And, that means a lot, I think, for our community to have people who are sensitive to the needs of mothers. So,
yes, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
All righty. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Take care.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for being here, for watching our program today, and for joining us here on this episode of Let's Talk, the first during the month of May. And it's funny, I keep saying June's going to be here in a minute. Time is flying. But I hope you've been inspired by the show with our captivating, I think, discussions, a lot of information that's been shared today. And so I want to give a heartfelt shout out to our amazing guests, Leslie Johnson, Edana Perry, Hannah Tessema, and Katie Fuller, for being with us and sharing all this information. As we wrap things up, we're a little over time, but I'm glad that you were able to stay with us. For those who are, I wish you a fantastic weekend. Take some time to unwind. There's so much going on. As a matter of fact, there's a Hands Off Our History March tomorrow that will take place. They're going to gather at 11 o'clock outside of the Wilson Building here in Washington, D.C., and they're going to march over to the National Museum of African American History, National Museum of African American History and Culture. So folks are going to meet in front of the Wilson Building tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It's a way of standing up against some of the attacks on Black history that's taking place by your president. And so join folks out there at the Wilson Building again tomorrow at 11, and take that walk to the museum, show your support, and I think it will be worth your time. Mm-hmm. So, as I said, I tell you to take time to unwind, but I'm already giving you things to do and to recharge. But that will definitely recharge you, because we've got a lot of work on our hands. So before we close, I invite you to view This Week in Photos, highlighting some of the newsworthy moments covered this week by the Washington Informer photojournalist team. From all of us here at Let's Talk, thank you for being a part of our community. We look forward to seeing you again next week.